Hi there, welcome to this build of a 20-inch wingspan rubber powered Noctule. Now the Noctule appeared in Aeromodeler in March 1988 and we've got the plans here, and if you have a look in the description below this video you'll find a link to those. Now this was a really quirky, interesting design by a guy called Peter Fisher, and it's very typical of the kind of things that he used to design, and his models are often very recognisable. I call him Peter Fisher. His actual real name is Ocean Francis William Fisher, but he's a British born designer and owner of performance kits from the 1950s up into the early 2000s. Now we've got the wings built and you can see it's a really nice, interesting design. What we want to do now is start building the fuselage and fit that onto this wing, or at least see how it fits. We may not actually glue it on, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to build the fuselage, and you can see it's just a very simple design that we've got on the plans here. And I'll tell you what, we'll take a closer look at these on the bench. Right, well the first thing I'm going to do is cut out two fuselage sides. I've got a couple of sheets I've photocopied, so I'm just going to cut out one of these and then put it on the balsa and just carefully cut around it. That's going to be accurate enough. So I need two of those. I need a couple of elevons, so I'll cut out that and do exactly the same process. And then we need to glue these two sides together at this point, these 3 points here as shown, and these are parallel. And then once we've got those, we can pull in the back of the fuselage and the front. So I'll get those bits cut out and then we'll have a look at how we're going to do this. Right, well I've got my bits. I've got my two elevons. These are just 1/16, really light, no weight to them at all. And we need to set them at an angle of -21 degrees, it says here on the plans. But I think first of all I need to get these covered in tissue. Well actually I need to put an angle on that, and then I need to get these covered in tissue so that they match the wing, and then I think we'll just CA these in place. I don't think they're going to be adjustable. So got those there. We've got the two fuselage sides, and I've marked on these on the inner face where the three cross members are, or cross pieces are. These are 1/8 square balsa that are all the same length, so those are the bits that make that side parallel. So we're going to put those together like that, and then we're going to pull in the back and we're going to pull in the front. I've also put in the location where the peg is for a beach dowel for the motor peg, and that's there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get those three bits glued, and then we can, like I say, pull in these other bits to taper the fuselage. So I'm going to get on and do that now, and I'll do that on a bit of plastic so we don't end up sticking it to the bench. Right, I'll get on and we'll have a look once we've got some of this done. Okay, quick look at how I'm jigging this up. Essentially I put the three pieces on nice and square. I've now got the front of these, that's upside down like that, resting on that block at the front to make sure that these are, so they're both supported equally and they're the same height at the back. I've got a block at the front just for the nose to go against like that. These are holding them nice and parallel, and as a double check I'm using the lines on my cutting mat to make sure that this is square, which it wasn't. There it is now. So now that is all jigged up. I mean it doesn't need to be hugely accurate, but why not? It's nice, good practice to get it done right. So now all I need to do, I think I've just moved it a little bit, all I need to do now is just put a dab of CA on that. Just make sure they're on there. There we go. And I've put the blocks in between, not where the pegs are, which would be better, but I've done it that way just because I don't want to glue the blocks to the fuselage. There we go. So I've got the other one to do underneath. I'll just slip a bit of plastic under that, and then we can start pulling this in together, the sides in. Right, well, I've really been cracking on with this fuselage now, and you can see I've got all of the cross pieces in except for one that needs to go there. These cross pieces are set up slightly so that they clear the central portion of the wings. As the wings, because of the anhedral coming up like that, they need to just clear that central ridge so that this can then glue on. Now I've got these cross pieces are all cut into the fuselage sides. I realised after I'd done this one and this one that I'd actually done it wrong, so I've done those, and that should be fine. It should be well strong enough even though that one isn't cut in. Now I've done this, it's a little bit big, but I'm going to glue it in and then very lightly sand it to size. It needs thinning down a little bit because it takes the 1/16 sort of window spar that comes down to the cowl or the nose area. With regards to the nose area, I cut a piece for the front here because we've got an angled section for the nose, 2 pieces of 1/16 balsa down the side. I cut a small triangular piece to go on there, but it was just so fiddly. I ended up putting a square piece in like this, marking the, can we see there, marking the centre line, and then just putting that flat on the bench and just taking my razor saw and just cutting that across like that, and then sanding to fit. So there we go. That will just need a little bit of touching up now to be right, but we're almost there. It doesn't show a triangular piece here to support the back of these 2 pieces of 1/16 that form the nose. I think I might add one. I think it'll just make it a little bit stronger for the support for the window bar, but also for the back of this this nose section. So I will get on and do that, and then I think this fuselage is more or less finished and ready to start fitting onto the wings. Okay, a progress update. You can see we've got this glued in the top now to form the where the canopy goes in the cockpit. I've got the bar put in, and I've got the 2 central supports for the sheeting on the nose. Boy, is this a fiddly job, particularly getting that in. It's going to need a little bit more sanding yet just to get it all right, but the next job is going to be putting on the sheeting. Now what I've done to make this easier, I've sanded those like that, and so I've put a chamfer on this at the correct angle, just get my sheeting, at the correct angle that this will go sit on it nicely. It's not a square edge. Hope that shows. And so I'm going to glue that on there, hanging down like that, and then I will run a scalpel along and trim it. I won't try and trim it first. Also, I'm putting an angle on this so that it meets the other piece nice and you know, airtight, so it's a nice fit. But to put the angle on that and get it consistent, what I'm doing is I've got 2 of my sanding sticks. I'm using this, I'm pushing that up against there, and it just helps hold it while I sand it. If I do it like that, it kind of wants to move this way, it bows in the middle. This just holds it nice and square and flat, so you get a good sanding, so you get a good edge on it. Hopefully that can see. I know this is all a little bit small, so and very fiddly. So I will get this nose done, and I'll get this fuselage sanded up, and then we're ready to start thinking about the finish on it. Right, well, I've now got this fuselage looking pretty good, I think. I'm quite pleased with it, and it's actually starting to look quite nice and sleek. I've rounded off the nose. I may round that off a little bit more, but probably not. We've got a fairly small hole for the rubber motor to go in there. That's going to be an interesting exercise. And if I just reach over and get the wing, I've got the wing here now, and I've just done a little bit of work to sit that on there, and that sits on quite nicely. So I'm quite pleased with that. The next job that we've got to do is to make up a small fin, and if I just get the plans, you can just see there's a very simple fin that just goes on the top there, just comprised of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces out of 1/8. But we won't put that fin on until we've got the fuselage covered. So we'll cover the fuselage, we'll cover the fin, and then we'll stick it on. But we'll make it now anyway. But then I think this is finished. I can't think of anything else we need to do. I've given it a lovely smooth sand, and like I say, I've fitted it to the wing so it fits on really nicely. It's just sits on there, and once we've got this covered, what we do is just literally glue this onto the wing. So starting to take shape. Now, one thing I should say about this is the top of this fuselage is actually curved very slightly, so if we build it straight it won't sit on without a little bit of sanding. But rather than try and build it curved to fit that, I'm going to build it with a straight bottom, and then I'm just going to gradually sand it till it fits nicely on there. So I'll get on and build this now. Like I say, it's just built out of 5 pieces of 1/8 balsa. Right, well that didn't take me long just to knock up that little fin, and rather than using the 1/8 square along the bottom, I cut a slightly wider piece from some 1/8 thick balsa that is really soft. And you can see, hopefully I've just put a little bit of a curve in there so it fits really nice on the back of there, and we've got a square back to it as well. It's not sort of angled like that or anything, because that wants to look nice and sharp. And in sanding that, I've just made sure that I can stand it up on the bench. I can do, honestly, whether I can in camera is a different matter. Famous last words, it'll stand up on the bench. Well, it would stand up on the bench earlier. There we go. Now we've got it standing up on the bench to show it's got like a square base to it. So, but as I said earlier, I'm not going to glue that on there. We'll cover these separately, and then that can just be tacked on like that. Well, we've now got the fuselage and the fin finished. And it's really nice to see this coming together and really adding some kind of depth to this model. And we can see what it's going to look like when it's finally put onto the wing there. But I'm going to draw this video to a close now, and in the next video we're going to be thinking about getting these covered, getting the fin perhaps stuck down, I'm not sure. But actually we also need to think about some acetate around the window, which is going to be a really tricky job because it's so small. And it's a while since I've worked on a model quite as small as this. I'm used to things just like a little bit bigger. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it, and thanks very much for watching. And please come back and see how we get on in pulling together this lovely Peter Fisher Noctule, a really fun 20-inch rubber model. Thanks very much.